Hello everyone watching this video. My name is Ling Min Hui. Today I'm going to be talking about a new topic that I've just learned in science, which is about constellations. So now let's get started. Well, first, let's talk about what it is first. So what is a constellation actually? So a constellation is a group of stars that is like next to each others, and so it creates a patterns that stands or looks like a object or like a thing or like an animal. So basically in the past, when lots of people they look up in the sky and they notice that every day or usually in a period of time they see a series or a pattern of stars that stay in the same place, didn't change and look like something, and that is when constellations actually happened. In ancient time, people started to notice for these stars patterns. They were close to each other, they seem like they're in a group, and they create an image, an imaginary object or imaginary thing that the ancient people noticed. So then they started to give names to these group of stars. So first, usually they would give by the Greek words or Greek myths. So usually they would use Greek words to name for these constellations because in the past it is the main language that they usually use. So they also come up with stories for those stars, and later I'm going to show you guys some examples. But after the name that they usually come with imaginary stories about the constellations so that they can remember it and that could picture the constellations in a better way. In the Western Hemisphere, people, when they look up in the sky, would see 88 constellations just in the Western Hemisphere. So in our place, it could be different from the Western Hemisphere. So there are 88 constellations that are in the sky that could be seen from the Western Hemisphere. So let's talk about our two group of constellations that we need to know. First is circumpolar constellations. Well, what are they? Circumpolar constellations are the group that are always visible up in the sky and that you could always see it in the whole year. So you just look up in the sky and you see it. Like there's no limited time or events for it to actually appear on the sky. And that is what we call circumpolar constellations. It is always visible up in the night sky and you guys could always find it. So that is circumpolar constellations. Next is seasonal constellations. Well, seasonal constellations are the group of stars that sometimes is visible in the sky, and usually it is just available in a short amount of time, like in a month or in a season. So that is why sometimes you guys look up in the sky and you guys see a different group of pattern, or you guys can't find that group of constellations anymore. So that is for the seasonal constellations. So that is our basic main two group of constellations. One other interesting fact about constellations is that they are super necessary to a lot of travelers, especially people in the past who didn't have maps. Well, when they didn't have maps and they are lost, usually they would look up in the night sky. If they find a constellation that has the North Star, they would know that north is actually pointing in that direction or that direction so that they could know to move. So it is one thing that is super important. So now let's move on to some groups of constellations that you might see up in the night sky. First is the Orion constellation. Well, the Orion is a seasonal constellation, meaning that it only appears up in the night sky at a definite amount of time. So it is named after a mythical warrior that is really brave And when we look up into the Orion constellation, the part that it is most easily to be detected are the three stars that made up his belt. And that is how people notice out the Orion. So usually his belt will look as like this. So it's like his belt here has the three dots of stars. And so when you look up in the night sky, you guys could see it pretty obviously. If you guys could actually look up in a time where there is the Orion constellation. Next constellation we have is Ursa Minor, which is a circumpolar constellation. So a circumpolar constellation meaning is that it is always visible up in the night sky, and you guys could almost see it in lots of places because the star in the bear's tail tip is the North Star. So the North Star is actually really close to the pole, and so this constellation here, the Ursa Minor, is super close to the pole. That almost every hemisphere in our Earth could actually view it up in the night sky. Well, what does Ursa Minor mean? Ursa Minor is a Greek word, and Ursa means bear, minors mean little or young or small, things like that. So Ursa Minor basically means baby bear. And so one interesting thing is that the stars in the bear's tail tip is the North Star. So when you guys look up in the sky and you guys see Ursa Minor, when you look up in the tail tip of it, you guys could see the North Star. So that is how a lot of people detect their directions that they're going. Next is Ursa Major. Ursa Major is also our circumpolar constellation, which means that you guys could always see it in the sky. And it means mother bear. So Ursa means bear, major means large. So we have is major bear, is mother bear. So Ursa Major and Ursa Minor is really close to each other in the sky. So when you look up and you find Ursa Minor, just look next to it. You would see Ursa Major. So people in the past, they made up stories that Ursa Major is always next to Ursa Minor, which is the baby bear, so that the mother bear could protect her baby bear. And so that is a really nice story for these constellations, right? So today we've talked about constellations and some real constellations that you guys could see in the sky. Well, if you guys are interested, come outside, look up into the night sky. You guys could see lots of constellations, and some of them are super easy to detect. So thank you so much for listening to my talk, and bye.